We went for a quiet word, basically saying, you know, college knows about this, don't do it. I also mentioned to Paul that there was this fire escape that could go into other bits. So we were able to say to him, don't do this. You know, you're going to get yourself into trouble if you do. And therefore the issue is dealt with. You know, things with Bob coming to you saying, you know, can you have a word? Or in some cases, best to go and have a word first and not alert college. The only time I'd say I'd be more alert in college is issues such as drugs. Serious issues which, let's say, would end up with police involvement. Those are the issues I think where you need to take a more college side. But in other issues, I think having a quiet word is the central approach, as I think Paul said.
Okay, thank you, guys. I'll shut up now. I'll open it up to questions. Any questions you want to ask from the audience? So, Pete.
So you've got your committee, and say one of your members, say your treasurer, isn't doing as much work as they should have done. How do you deal with that? And also, if they are sort of criticised publicly, to what extent would you defend them? So even though you know they haven't done enough, to what extent would you defend them publicly and take the responsibility of that?
Okay. First of all, I think, in my view of it, well, the treasurer was the person I was going to say should be checking up and making sure everyone's doing their job. If they're not doing their job, I think first of all...
So it's just any
committee member. First of all, I'd say that I'd ask the vice president, first of all, to go along and have a word, and then say, you know, that Ben fellow, whichever one it may be, is getting a bit annoyed, you know, do something. And then if it still wasn't resolved, I would go and say, this isn't on. After that, then you're into the publicly stating, this person isn't doing their job. I want to make motions that they should be removed, which is very difficult at the moment. It's like 100 students, but we're looking into lowering that, I think, with Nick in this constitution.
60, I believe.
Or 60. No. Oh yeah, it's 100 for the president. Sorry. And then as and then as regards the committee members, I would take the view that until I can publicly say I don't think this person's doing their job, the committee, I'm there to look out for them. I defend them entirely in public and then say to them afterwards, they were entirely spot on with that criticism. You know, shape up your act. But I think, you know, your kind of core discreet, if you know what I mean, is gone if you don't defend committee in public until you're at the stage where you're publicly criticising them as well.
Okay,
yeah, no, I like you said, first protocol shouldn't be to directly do it. It should be to sort of, not sort of cloak and dagger, but to sort of have a quiet word, not probably worry people, maybe get the vice president, somebody else, you know, somebody else who's in the same sort of position. And then, as you said, again, if things still haven't shaven up, it's time that you directly have to take a role. Again, this doesn't need to be public because it's just alarmist. If it gets to the stage where he's being publicly criticised, to a certain extent, you know, again, it's a morale thing. You are bound, you have to defend the people on your committee. It doesn't help anybody slate them off as well. But if it gets to the stage where really there is no other option, I mean, I don't know the constitution inside out, but I believe there is options for like votes of no confidence and what have you. I feel there comes a stage when you realise that, you know, publicly defending isn't going to make them shape up their act. It would never be the first point of call, or even the second point of call. I think the president would be able to see the point at which, you know, a change is needed.
I'll take another question.
That was in response to Ben West's response just now. You basically said you would defend a member of the committee to the point until you start publicly criticizing them. That's not an answer. That's just say, I won't criticize them until I start criticizing them. At which point would you say explicitly that you actually start going to publicly criticize a member of the committee who is under serious fire by the rest of the JCR body?
So, I see it as the view as your team, you're leading your team, you have to defend your team. Now, you defend them until, so let's say it got to the stage, vice president had said something, or another senior member, I had said something, and then they were still not responding, then I would be publicly saying that I think this is not how things should be done. That's when I publicly start criticizing. But until that point, you're leading a team. It's very bad for team morale if you start criticizing your own team members in public. Until you have got to the stage where you need to start criticizing them in public and actively seeking a resolution which is effectively saying their removal from the committee, I think you have to defend them. Otherwise, your team spirit is gone, and That's something I think which is really
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Sort of Declan's hand up first.
Am I allowed to ask one question to one candidate? No?
If you can keep it general, but if you ask it, I'm going to stand out.
Okay, so yesterday in the speeches we heard a lot. Unfortunately, I know Ben West more than I know Ben Hinson, so the question is mainly directed at you, Ben Hinson. You talked about how much Magdalene means to you in your speech yesterday. So I was just wondering what you'd been involved in college life over the past year that you feel makes you, obviously a suitable candidate for this position. And then also kind of leading on from that interest that you obviously have in Magdalene, perhaps why you didn't attend the open meeting after your hustings yesterday.
Okay, well, that is a very general question, but I'm not going to lie, I haven't actively involved myself in many sports teams, partly because I'm crap at sport, but I mean, I've taken part in, and currently I'm taking part in the Magdalene Drama Society production of 4.8. It's more, I won't lie, I haven't been to committee meetings before in the past, mainly because last year I didn't feel, I was in a position, having only been here a few months to a year, to be in a position to know what I was on about. The reason, and I'm not going to lie, the reason I didn't stay for the meeting yesterday was because I was so sort of stressed out after the thing, but I just needed a moment to sort of relax and because this was, as you say, and as I said, I don't have experience of this. This was a big thing for me, but the point is, if I didn't think I had the abilities and the common sense and the know-how to be able to do a good job, I wouldn't have wasted everybody's time by applying. And I know that's not a very good answer, but that's the honest truth.
Thank you, Ben. Flip that around, 30 seconds for Ben West on this. Over the last year, you clearly have been on the JCR, and therefore you've been working within the JCR. Is there not an argument that things need to be freshened up, and there's not an argument that because you've been in the JCR, you haven't had necessarily a more broad view of the whole of college? Is that not an argument first?
I think an important thing in the present role, pretty obvious I'm going to say this, is being on the JCR and knowing the structures that are there. I found whenever I joined, I took a while to learn it. As regards to becoming blinkered, I don't really think that's an issue in a way, especially because, as you've seen tonight, we agree on a lot of issues in a way, and I have ideas which differ from you as well, some quite a bit, but I think in that aspect, I don't think it's blinkered. I usually stick to my views, and I don't think I'm, committee views, if you know what I mean.
Thank you very much. We have gone over an hour now, so I think we will wrap it up there. Just to remind everyone again, voting is open tomorrow, Saturday, from 9 AM to 9 PM online, and also in the Plodge on Sunday between 11 and 1 and 2 to 5. There are 3 candidates, Ben Hinson, Ben West, and of course Brian, which stands for reopen nominations. I think the guys deserve a round of applause.